Good morning, children. Welcome back to your science class. In the last class, we started Block-9, bones, joints and muscles. So in the last class, we studied about bones. Today, we are going to discuss about joints. What are joints? Joint is a place where two bones meet. So the place where two bones meet are called joints. We know we have joints in our body, right children? Which are the part we have joints? Yes, these joints are starting from our neck onwards, right? So neck joint is the first one, neck joint. Then shoulders we have joint, shoulder joint. Then we know on the hand we have elbow joint. Then wrist joints are there on the hand, and we know fingers also have joints. Then when we reach into the hip also we have joints in hip joint is the another joint we have. Then we know on the leg we have knee joint and ankle joint also there, and on the toes also we have joints. So these are the different joints of our body. Okay, so which are the different joints on the body? Yes, neck joint, shoulder joint, elbow joint, wrist joint, fingers, then hip joint, then knee joint, ankle joint, and on the toes also we have joints. So these are the different joints of our body. So we know joints means the place where the bones meet. So we know these joints only helping our body to move. There is no joints, then we cannot make it move our body. Okay, so the place where two bones meet, that part we can easily move. So that part we have joints. Okay, then see children, joints are divided into two groups. Okay, there are two types of joints are there: movable joints and immovable joints. Okay, movable joints means the joints that allow the movement are called movable joints. The joints that allow movement are called movable joint. So we know most of the joints are allowing movements, isn't it? So examples for these movable joints are neck we can make it move. Then we know our shoulder, ankle, wrist, all these joints can be movable, isn't it? So that means it allow the movement. The joints that allow the movement are called movable joints we studied. So which are the examples for movable joint? Yes, our neck joint is an example for movable joint because it can allow the movement. Okay, then neck joint, shoulder, ankles, wrist, knee, these all are the examples for movable joints. Okay, then what is immovable joint? Yes, the joint that do not allow the movement are called immovable joint. So the joint that do not allow any movement are called immovable joint. Which is the example for immovable joint? Yes, the joints in our skull. The joint in our skull do not allow any movement. So it is the example for immovable joint. Okay, so example for immovable joint is the joint in our skull. So example for immovable joint is the joint in our skull, and example for movable joints are the joints in our neck, shoulders, wrist, ankles. Okay, these all are the example for movable joint. Okay, there are four types of movable joints are there. Which are the four types of movable joint? They are pivot joint, hinge joint, ball and socket joint, and gliding joint. Okay, so which are the four types of movable joint? Pivot joint, hinge joint, ball and socket joint, and gliding joint. Pivot joint found on our neck. Okay, so where is pivot joint? Pivot joint found on our neck. Hinge joint found on our knee and elbow. Hinge joint found on our knee and elbow. And ball and socket joint found on our shoulder. So the joint in our shoulder is called ball and socket joint. Then gliding joints can be found on our wrist and ankle. Okay, so joint in our wrist and ankle is called gliding joints. Okay, so these are the four types of movable joint: pivot joint, hinge joint, ball and socket joint, and gliding joint are the four main types of movable joints. Okay, so joints are two types are there: movable joint and immovable joint. Okay, so the place where the two bones meet are called joints. Joints are two types: movable joint and immovable joint. The joint that allow the movement are called movable joint, and the joint that do not allow the movement are called immovable joint. Okay, example for movable joint are joint in our neck, shoulder, knee, elbow, all are the example for movable joint. Example for immovable joints are the joint in our skull. The joint in our skull do not allow any movement. That is why it is an example for immovable joint. Okay, then we can see the joint can move in two direction, children. Which are the two direction? Some joint can move in all direction and some joint can move in only one direction. For example, we can find the joint in our elbow and knee. It can move only in one direction. Okay, the joint in our elbow and knee, it can move in only one direction. But the joint in our wrist and joint in our ankle can move in all direction, and same as our joint in our shoulder also can move in all direction. That means different direction it can move. Okay, so the some joint can move in one direction and some joint can move in different direction or all direction. Example, the joint can move in one direction. Examples are the joint in our knee and elbow. Okay, the example for the joints that can move in all direction are our shoulder, wrist, ankle. This joint can move in all direction. Okay, so these are the different movement of joints. So this much only we have to discuss today. So everybody take your workbook. Yes, page number 6. Name of the lesson is movable joints. Okay, so first question is we have to complete the table. In the table we can see first column we can see the name of the joint. So we can see different name of joints we can find there: elbow, neck, shoulder and skull. These are the different joints found in our body. Okay, next what we have to discuss, children? Yes, we have to discuss, is it movable or immovable? Okay, then third column, how is it used? Okay, so first question is, first picture we can see it is elbow joint. It is elbow joint. So next column, is it movable or immovable? So first one we can find that it is movable. It is already given there. Then how is it used? Yes, our elbow joint we use to pick books. It is given there. Second one, it is neck joint. Is it movable or immovable? Yes, it is movable. We can move it all direction, isn't it? Then how is it used, children? Yes, we can turn around. We can turn around by using our neck. So how it is used? To turn around. Next one, it is shoulder. Is it movable or immovable? Yes, it is movable joint. Then how it is used? To move our hand. So shoulder, or we can say to pick something, or like that way also we can write. Okay, so how it is used? To move our hand. Next one, it is skull. Is it movable or immovable joint? Yes, it is immovable joint because we know it cannot allow the movement we studied. So skull is immovable joint. How is it used? Yes, it protect our brain. It protect our brain. Second question is, how is the joint in the skull different from the joint at the angle? So we already studied the joint in the skull is immovable, but the joint at the angle is movable. Okay, the joint in the skull is immovable, but the joint at the angle is movable. That is the difference between the joint in the skull and joint at the angle. Third question, name two movable joints that are similar in their movement. So we already studied the joints are different in their movement. Okay, so we can write example of any two joints that are similar in their movement. So we can write children wrist and ankle. Okay, the joint at the wrist and ankle can move in all direction. Okay, so or otherwise we can write the joint at the knee and elbow, it can move only in one direction. That way also we can write the answer. Okay, so how can we give the answer? The joint at the wrist and ankle can move in all direction. That is the one example we can give. Otherwise, how can we give the joint in elbow and knee? It can move in only one direction. Next we can discuss practice question. Yes, practice question number 3. What is the difference between a movable joint and immovable joint? So we already studied movable joints are the joint that allow the movement. Okay, the joint that allow the movement are called movable joint, and the joint that do not allow the movement are called immovable joint. Okay, example also we can give. Example for movable joint we can give shoulder, elbow, wrist, ankle, etc. Okay, then example for immovable joint, the joint at the skull is the example for immovable joint. Next one, name 4 movable joints of our body. So you can write any 4 movable joint: shoulder, neck, wrist, ankle, then hip joint, fingers, or any for movable joint you can write. Okay, so this much only enough for today's class. Hope you all understood today's class. So we can meet in the next class. Okay, bye.